What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another preseason preview video. In today's video, we're going over the Cleveland Cavaliers. In case this is your first preseason preview video of mine that you're seeing, basically what I do is look over all of the offseason, give a little recap there, and then look into the future and try to see what we can expect in this upcoming season. I'm going to be dropping videos on all 30 NBA teams, so make sure you check out the channels for the ones I already uploaded and then subscribe so you don't miss the future ones. But let's just jump right into it with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last year, I would say overall is a successful season because when you look at the regular season, they were the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference throughout basically the whole year. They went 64-18, super impressive. It's when the playoffs, that's when it gets a little bit questionable on how successful it really was. Because first round, they looked great. They swept the Miami Heat. Then in that second round, they got gentlemen swept by the Indiana Pacers. Now, obviously, now looking back on it, we all know the Pacers had lightning in a bottle there. They made it all the way to the finals, Game 7 of the finals. So it makes that loss look a little bit better. But still, the Cavs were definitely the favorite in that. They were the #1 seed going against the 4 seed. They had home court advantage, and they still fizzled out. I know Darius Garland was dealing with some injuries and stuff like that too, but overall, you look at the Cavs, regular season, they look good. And then the playoffs, that's where their issues come along. And, hopefully this season they can kind of switch that up. They did make some changes this offseason to try to shake it up and get over that hump. First, before we talk about the guys they brought in, I want to highlight some of the guys they lost. #1 guy that they lost, the most important guy that they lost in my eyes, is definitely Ty Jerome. Last year was a breakout season for Ty Jerome. It was the most consistent role he's had since being in the NBA, really. And he was getting 6th Man of the Year votes. He was like instant offense off the bench for the Cavs, whether it was him as the lead guard, ball handling, scoring, playmaking, or if he was playing alongside one of their other guards of Darius and Donovan, playing off the ball, shooting the ball. He was great for them. Once free agency hit, Ty Jerome did sign a deal with the Memphis Grizzlies, so he's going to be down in Memphis backing up Ja Morant, running their bench role. I think he'll be great there. The other guy that the Cavs lost out on this offseason was Isaac Okoro. He was their 4th overall pick, or maybe 5th. I don't know. He was a high draft pick for the Cavs a few years back, and he just never really materialized past anything besides a 3-and-D wing. He had a very solid season last year. I think it was a career year shooting the ball. If not career year, it was close to one of his best seasons shooting the ball. And again, like I said, defense is one of his main callings. But they did trade him to the Chicago Bulls. And that's, I guess, a perfect way to transfer into the guys that they added. Because when you look at this trade, Isaac Okoro, straight up, they got back Lonzo Ball. I feel like that's pretty good value for the Cavs. Lonzo Ball essentially is going to be a little bit of a watered down version of Ty Jerome, if you ask me, because I feel like people overlook the fact that Lonzo, he had all his knee injuries, he's back, people are super happy, but they tend to think that he is still the Lonzo Ball pre-injuries, where he's going to be your main ball handler, bringing the ball up the court and all of that. Lonzo Ball really isn't that anymore. He is much closer to a 3-and-D wing with size and stuff. Obviously, he still has the playmaking knowledge and he makes the right passes, but he's not really a point guard, I feel like, anymore. And I'm not saying that to slight Lonzo, because I do think that he still is a very good basketball player. It's just when you look at the role that he plays for your basketball team, it's not main point guard bringing the ball up as the ball handler. He's just not that anymore. He still brings a lot of value with his size, with his defense. He's not as good as he once was, but he still is a super smart basketball player. The 3-point shot, it was a little bit shaky last year. Obviously, the first time he's played basketball in like 2 or 3 years, so you hope that comes back. They're definitely buying low on Lonzo and hoping that he can get back to somewhat of the player he once was. And I think he can, as long as he stays healthy. Obviously, that has been the main issue for a while now. But overall, I like the trade, and I think that Lonzo Ball can kind of replace some of what Ty Jerome brought. And then they also went out in free agency and signed Larry Nance Jr. to a 1-year veteran minimum contract. Larry Nance is back in Cleveland, so shout out to him. Love that for him. And I really do like this move as a underrated signing. Like I said, he went for the vet minimum, and usually those guys aren't super impactful. But I really like what Larry Nance brings to this team because he is a tweener between a power forward and center. We all know that the Cavs love to run double bigs with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I think Larry Nance can play alongside either of those guys, or also give the Cavs something that they don't really have, and that is a true like small ball. I know they do run Evan Mobley at center, and I guess you can kind of call that a small ball lineup since he's more of their power forward. But Larry Nance is a true small ball center. So he kind of just gives them a different look. And as I've been saying throughout a lot of these videos, my favorite part of team building is definitely having the ability to throw out different lineups. Larry Nance just adds extra lineups the Cavs can run. And real quick, I do want to highlight that Sam Morril was also a unrestricted free agent for the Cavs, but they did go out and re-sign him to a new contract. He signed a 4-year, $38 million contract, so he'll be making a little bit under $10 million for the next 4 years for the Cavs. And now that we recap the offseason for Cleveland, let's take a look at a potential depth chart that we could be seeing. The starting five stays the same with Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. Off the bench is where we'll see some new faces though, with Lonzo Ball, Sam Morril, DeAndre Hunter, Dean Wade, and Larry Nance Jr. The first thing that jumps off the page when I look at a rotation like that is the Cavs have real legitimate depth at every single position. Like I mentioned, if you were looking for a real center, they have Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley that they can throw out there, because I know Larry Nance Jr. is definitely more of a undersized center or maybe even a power forward. But between the three of them there, they have that covered. Obviously, you still have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell as your dynamic guards. You have loads of wings that come in all different sizes and do a bunch of different things for you. If you want some shooting, you can get Sam Morril. If you want a little bit more defense with that shooting, you can get Max Strus. If you want a little bit more size with that shooting, you can get Dean Wade. You see what I'm saying here. If you want just more on-ball production, you can go with DeAndre Hunter. The one little caveat I will say with this roster is they don't really have a true backup guard. Like I said, in my eyes, Lonzo Ball just isn't that ball handler, bring the ball up type of guy anymore. The way the Cavs kind of mitigate that is they stagger Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, and I'm sure we'll just continue to see more of that because that's what they've been doing. But that's just my one little caveat on like their depth, if you want to say. But at the end of the day, when it comes to this Cavs team, basically it comes down to that last 4 minutes, the closing time of a game. They're going to have the core four of Darius, Donovan, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen out there. It's just who will be that fifth guy. And like I said, I think they have enough variance where they can end nights on a lot of different people. Max Strus will close some games out for sure. DeAndre Hunter will close some games out for sure. Dean Wade, we've seen close some game outs too. Sam Morril, if he hit his last 5 threes or something like that, he could close a game as well. And I think that that's really important because when you're talking about a super long regular season, you want that depth and those guys you can lean on. And Kenny Atkinson last year, with his first year, building this offense out, he's shown that he wants to lean more towards a team collective and not just, Donovan, you're our best player, go out there and score. Evan Mobley, go do your thing, post up a little bit. He wants the entire team involved in this scoring process. And with the team built how it is right now, I feel like that's going to work out great. They still have the structure to be a terrific defense anchored by Jarrett Allen and reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Evan Mobley. Even though they traded away guys like Isaac Okoro, who was one of their better perimeter defenders, they still have some guys like a Max Strus, like I mentioned. Dean Wade, I think, is super underrated as a defender, especially with his size. I feel like they're still going to have one of their better defenses while also keeping their offense powered by their superstars, but then the great shooting that they have throughout the roster. The Cavs, they didn't change too much from last year where they were the #1 seed, so you can expect this year they should still be pretty good. And real quick, I do want to highlight some notable reserves. First guy is Craig Porter Jr. I'm pretty high on Craig Porter Jr. I think that he is a solid backup point guard in this league, and I could see him maybe getting some minutes here and there if the Lonzo situation is more of an issue. Like I've been not projecting, but the issues with Lonzo that I've been voicing in this video, if that is more of an issue, or maybe even his health, hopefully not, but if I could see Craig Porter being that solidified backup guard in this rotation. And then also, real quick, a shout out to Jalen Tyson. I think last year as a rookie, he showed a lot of flashes, and I really like him at that wing, just being dynamic and athletic. I could see him getting some spot minutes, but not quite in the rotation. And now it is time for the ceiling, floor, and my expectations for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Starting off with their ceiling, Like I said, last year they were the number 1 seed. They didn't make too many changes. If anything, they may have gotten a little bit better. And because of that, I will still say their ceiling is the number 1 seed. They could definitely be the best team in the Eastern Conference again this year. Last year, they won 64 wins. I could definitely see them winning 60-plus games again. Whether they eclipse that 65 mark, I don't know. But at their ceiling, there definitely could be a 60-win team yet again. And then when you look at the playoffs, Boston's out of there. Indiana's out of there. Those are the 2 teams that are eliminated in the last 2 years. The only other team in there that I think can really compete with them at a high level in the Eastern Conference is the New York Knicks. But if they get past them, they can definitely make it to the finals. And if they made it that far, at their ceiling, they could definitely be NBA champions. Looking at their floor, I see them being as low as the 4 seed. With this Eastern Conference missing a lot of their heavy hitters and the Cavs being just such a great, well put together team, I can't see them being any lower than the 4 seed. I think that it is a lock that they will have home court advantage in at least the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. And because of that, I think they should definitely, even at their floor, win their first round matchup. When it comes to that second round, though, that seems like that has been the kryptonite of the Cavs, more specifically the kryptonite of Donovan Mitchell throughout his career. Hopefully he can get past that, but at their floor right now, I see them as second round exits. But when you talk about my expectation for the Cavs, I expect them to be that 2 seed. You guys know I am a Knicks fan. I definitely think that, even unbiased, I think the Knicks should be gunning for that number 1 seed. So I expect the Cavs to be the 2 seed. Number 1 is definitely in reach, but my expectations are number 2. And then for the playoffs, I do expect them to make the Eastern Conference Finals. Like I mentioned, it's been kind of their kryptonite for Donovan Mitchell to not make it past the second round. This year, I feel like there's not many excuses. I expect them to meet the New York Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Whatever happens after that, I don't really know, but they should at least make it there. What do you guys think, though? Let me know in the comments below how far you think the Cleveland Cavaliers will make it in the playoffs. And then also let me know, where do you think they will rank in the end of the regular season? What seed will they go into the playoffs with? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.